Hey guys, today I wanted to give a update on one of my favorite users, Nine Mods. Nine Mods, also known as Roman P, has taken credit for being 9 out of the 16 moderators in the subpoena. So Ethan Klein subpoenaed Reddit for 16 usernames. Nine Mods happily raised their hand and said, "Hey, I'm 9 of those usernames, and Ethan is wasting money." That's why I call him or her Nine Mods. Now, apparently, it is a Jane Doe, which means it is Nine Mods may be female. I'm shocked to learn that, but maybe that's incorrect. And when Nine Mods, if they are ever revealed, I would assume it's a guy. I would give you odds that it is a guy based on their pattern of behavior on social media. So back to Nine Mods. Nine Mods has been incredibly quiet recently, which after the lawyer up scenario, Nine Mods probably paid for a lawyer to fight the subpoena. Now, I think there is something in the subpoena that Reddit could give Ethan Klein, which would help identify some of these 16 members. Now, again, how many of the 16 members made a mistake? How many of them used their real name somewhere? Or talked about the real location somewhere in a comment that they deleted or in something like that, probably mistakes are going to be made because you're talking about a situation where these individuals did not know they had any risk or liability until just recently when they were sued. Okay, now we'll get into the other argument. So I wanted to kind of take this into two directions. Maybe perhaps it would be best if we just read it. Either Ethan's lawyer is giving him wrong info, or more likely, Ethan is just completely clueless. Unless, of course, he's saying this on purpose to give his audience the impression that this is unlosable. Ethan says the mods need to argue that Denon's, Frog, and Caseytron did not commit copyright infringement. This is the only way they can succeed. Ethan replies, correct. The first element necessary to establish contributory infringement is knowledge of the infringing activity. That is, defendant should or should have known about the infringement. The threads were made before any reaction even occurred, meaning they could not possibly have known at that time, which leaves the should have known part. How should they have known? I think their argument is because the mods said to not give the nuke views, and because Denon's made comments about watching her instead of the nuke, etc. But the problem here is that none of that indicates that they should have known. All that is completely fine if their reaction was fair use. You can, of course, link to a fair use video and say, watch this instead. And of course, you would presume any reaction is fair use, unless it is obvious violation, like a full re-upload until indicated otherwise. Did Ethan ever DMCA any reactions? So here is a very poor legal understanding. Roman P either needs to talk to his lawyer and figure out why this is not correct, or find a new lawyer if this is what the lawyer is telling him. So we're not talking about winning the lawsuit here. We are talking about whether or not the names are going to be given or the information. Reddit will have to give the information. We're talking about a subpoena. And the level of that you would need to get a subpoena is far less than the level that you would need to win a case. So I think in terms of a subpoena, and this gets to my second part. Right now, they're having a fit about this whole idea of doxing. There is no such thing as doxing in an illegal case. So when Logan Paul sued CoffeeZilla, his real name, Stefan Feinstein, became public knowledge. Everyone can Google it. It's on Court Listener. It's on multiple court. It just became, to my understanding, he actually hid his name. And there were people who were trying to blackmail him and saying, hey, I'm going to tell you everyone your real name and so on. In the case of Frogan, Denon's, and Caseytron, it's the exact same thing. So if information is easily accessible publicly via a legal case where it is, then you cannot really dox someone in terms of the law. So if you're trying to sue somebody, using your real name in a public court document is not doxing them. If that was the case, then nobody would ever be sued, right? They would all just use a pseudonym and say, hey, you doxed me, I can't believe it. So I think so right now they're talking about doxing in California. It's a max penalty, but this is not in the context of a lawsuit. In the context of a lawsuit, everything is fair game. In fact, another case that we have covered, Proven or McNally versus Proven, Proven versus McNally. Proven's the one suing. Proven Locks. They had witnesses and testimonies and stuff, and then they were afraid of the harassment. But the question is, like, why would you even sue if, like, all of this stuff is public? Your lawyer should tell you, hey, all your names are going to be public. The names of your business, your name. I mean, this is just part of what a lawsuit is, right? The lawsuit is public for a reason. We want transparency in our court system. We don't want pseudonames. I mean, it's not a system where you can sue somebody with a pseudonym. It is a system, unless it's a company, a registered company or something, and that's their actual DBA name or something like that. But as an individual, you need to sue the individual. The full name, you need to know where they live because you need to serve them. So the concept of, I think, doxing is very misunderstood from on the internet. It's a very severe thing. And I would say, yes, I would never agree that you should dox someone. But in terms of a lawsuit, there is no way to engage in a lawsuit without having a full name and an address to serve, right? There's just not a way, even criminally or civil. I mean, you could understand the whole legal system would fall apart if everyone was just suing everyone. And the part of this is we want the transparency, win or lose. Carl Jobs' name is on the lawsuit, and it's easy to find all the information that you need. Now, in my opinion, with VTubers, we covered Doki Bird and all this stuff. Like, yes, there is a situation where, like, you are a YouTuber, you're a VTuber, you don't want your fans to find out who you are, where you live, obviously, like that, like a celebrity in South Korea. There are other ways, restraining orders and so on, but a lawsuit isn't something that, in my opinion, is debatable here. You need the name, you need the address. That's as simple as that. There is no question about doxing here. Well, like you said, the H-free mod heads, they can be fully assuming these creators would be Hassan level transformative. All they could have meant was don't give the view, but that's not up to you, right? That's the case. So they're already arguing the case. The situation is not, okay, let's argue. The situation is very simple, is about the subpoena, right? Do you have enough to subpoena their names? Really simple. Do you have enough to ask Reddit to turn over whatever Reddit has? Maybe Reddit doesn't even have their names, but has something that they would have been able to dig. This is a very interesting. This is when internet law goes against actual law. And there are many, because internet is relatively new and the laws haven't really caught up to the internet in terms of, like, different scenarios that can happen. You really rarely see too many cases like this where you have to subpoena Reddit for an anonymous user, because it costs a lot of money. Even if you get the information from Reddit, you probably have to give it to some type of expert and pay them a bunch of money to figure out whether or not you can get names. And then you have to be certain that these are the real names, right? Because if you have a name that's not correct, and now you're really screwed from a defamation standpoint. So Roman P, he is more quiet than normal. As of recording this video, he hasn't posted in 3 days, 2 to 3 days. And I think he's being quiet because his lawyers are telling him. So if these moderators are paying all this money to a lawyer, I can tell you exactly what the lawyer is saying. Hey, please do not post anymore. You need to stop. All of you need to stop. I understand Ethan's a bad guy. I agree with you. And he's got to, like, coax them into, like, listening to him. We saw that Carl Jobs and his legal team, he would not listen to them at all. And he continued to post Billy Mitchell video after Billy Mitchell video, after probably being told dozens of times by his legal team, do not post, do not post. In fact, Carl would even mention that he doesn't even ask the legal team anymore because he knows what they would say, which is do not post, do not talk about this individual. Here, again, same scenario is you will know if H3 Snark got a lawyer if they shut up. They're shutting up. You will know how good their lawyer is if they can continue to shut up. Right? The quality of H3 Snark's lawyer will be dependent on whether, this is a very, very one-to-one scenario. We can see that with Carl Joe. I can see that with a lot of other cases. Any lawyer worth their salt, legal advice to these moderators will be, do not post anymore. Let me resolve the issue. Let me try to figure out. Give me the best chance to quash the subpoena. And my best chance is if you don't post anymore. And whether or not they can control themselves, that will determine if they have a good lawyer. Anyway, guys, let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Bye, guys.